The 25th Hour Radio Show. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the 25th Hour Radio Show today. On the phone, I have the president and CEO of Holiday World Splashin Safari, Matt Eckert. Matt, thanks for taking a few minutes out of your day to join me on the show.
Thanks for having me, Rob. Glad to be here.
Matt, before we get into talking about the park, I want to get to know you just a little bit. Have you always been an Indiana native? And if so, were you familiar with Holiday World growing up as a kid?
Absolutely, yes. I actually grew up in southern Indiana, near the Patoka Lake region, if you're familiar. And, I grew up, coming every summer with my family to the park. It was always a big treat to make our annual trip to what was then Santa Claus Land when I was younger. We switched over to Holiday World in 1984. So, absolutely. Coming here every summer growing up was a treat. And to actually be running the park now is kind of surreal, quite honestly.
How did that come to be? I mean, how did you initially become employed with Holiday World?
Sure. So, I went to Indiana State University up in Terre Haute, and I got my degree in accounting and finance. And when I graduated college, I knew that I wanted to work in the accounting field. I'm a business guy. And I went to work for what was then at that time one of the big 6 public accounting firms in Indianapolis. And I was there for about 4 years, and a good friend of mine from college actually worked at Holiday World growing up. He started working here when he was 14 years old. That's the age you can start working. And he, all the way through college, he worked at Holiday World and absolutely loved it. And he then became a full-time employee upon graduation. And so we remained friends, and we talked periodically. And one day, out of the blue, he just called me and says, "Hey, our president's looking for a controller. Would you be interested?" And at that time, I was happy doing what I was doing. I loved my job. And however, my wife and I were soon to be married, and knew that at some point we wanted to move back closer to home, to our family, to our parents, and that we wanted to raise our kids when we had them somewhere a little closer to home. And so I'm like, well, you know what? I'll come talk to him. That's fine. I'm not really looking to make a transition. But I came down, and I just happened to be home that weekend. Talked to Will Cook, the owner and president at the time, and the very next day he called me and said, "Hey, I'd really like to have you be a part of our family. You're a fantastic candidate, fantastic person, and we just really like to have you." So the rest is history. My wife and I, talked it over and decided that things happen for a reason, and here we are.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the park itself. A lot of people might not be aware of this, but Holiday World has been operating now for 70 years.
Absolutely, yeah. This is our 70th birthday season, and we've been family owned since 1946. So we're now currently in our 4th generation of family ownership. And Rob, with any business, with my background in public accounting, I've worked with tons and tons of different companies. Looking at companies who remain family owned for that long period of time is very, very rare. For theme parks, I could probably count on one hand the number of theme parks that are still family owned, that have not been purchased by corporate parks and changed quite a bit. So to be in our 70th year of operation is pretty phenomenal, and it's something that we're really proud of.
What do you think the core reason is this business has been able to withstand the test of time like it has?
I think it's our business model, and it's our people. It's truly our people, and it's truly the way that we operate the park and the way we treat our guests. We're very focused on families, and we're very focused on providing a great value for all of our guests. We give away free soft drinks, free parking, free sunscreen, free Wi-Fi. You pay one price and you get both parks. Our water park is fantastic. TripAdvisor actually just named us among the top 4 water parks in the nation. We're second only to Orlando parks like Disney and SeaWorld and Aquatica, so we can honestly say we're the number one water park in the Midwest. And those TripAdvisor reviews are based on guest comments and guest reviews, and we read every single one of those. And with that designation, that puts us in the top 1% of all attractions worldwide. So, given the fact that we focus so much on families and we focus so much on value, and yet we're still able to maintain that small park family feel out in the middle of a bunch of cornfields, really makes us unique, and it makes us a different type of experience that folks just tend to want to come and build memories with their families. And that's what brought me here. I can look back and think of the times, my grandparents brought me to the park as a kid, and my parents, and those are memories that I have that will be with me forever. And that's what I tell our hosts and hostesses all the time is we're here to build memories. We're here to make magic, and we're here to make people forget their everyday lives outside of the gates of this park. And I think that's one thing that keeps people coming back, because they can, come here and just enjoy a day with their family and leave here with a ton of memories.
As a parent, speaking of those free amenities, as far as the sunscreen, the parking, the soft drinks, the Wi-Fi, it's one of the reasons my family keeps coming back year after year, especially, like I said, as a parent. And I don't know if you know the answer to this, but I've always been curious. How much sunscreen does the park go through in a year?
We go through, I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but I can definitely say it's thousands upon thousands of gallons.
I imagine. Yeah. I've always thought that when I'm there at the park, I'm like, wow, I wonder how much they go through a year.
Yeah, nothing's worse than going home at the end of the night with a sunburn and having your little ones have a sunburn. So we want to make sure that, your skin's in just as good a shape as it was leaving as it was when it came in.
And speaking of the sunscreen, and you mentioned TripAdvisor, recognizing Splashin Safari as one of the top 4 water parks in the nation. Congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you.
What is it about Splashin Safari that separates it from all the rest?
I think it's the fact that, we have such a great variety of attractions within the water park. We have the world's longest water coaster in the Mammoth. We actually just another accolade. We got the Guinness World Record. Now Guinness has recognized the Mammoth as the world's longest water coaster, and we have the Wildebeest, which is almost as long, so it's now number 2. So we have 2 water coasters, which is very unique, and so it's not like your typical water slide where you start at the top of the station and you just slide downhill. These coasters actually propel you upwards and downhill, just like your coaster. But then we also have a variety of pretty much every kind of water slide and attraction you can imagine. That's great for the entire family. Kids can ride those. I know my kids. I have a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 7-year-old, and they've been coming obviously since they were babies. They've been able to enjoy the water park their entire lives, and it's just a great place to bring the family. We have cabanas the families can rent, so if they need to, if you have a super small one and they need a little nap time, or grandma and grandpa bring the kids and they just need a place in the shade that they can park for the day, we try to provide those types of opportunities as well, that they can really enjoy the water park as much as they possibly can. And then, of course, too, like our holiday world itself, Splashin Safari, we're very laser focused on, safety and cleanliness and friendliness. And I think that's something that just really sets both of our parks apart from others.
And for the thrill seekers, you have the Holiday World side that is home to some of the best roller coasters in the business.
Absolutely.
How many roller coasters does the park have?
So we have 3 wooden roller coasters, all very highly ranked, and so another accolade, actually, Time Magazine named the Voyage the nation's best wooden roller coaster, which I know I'm biased, but I 150% agree with. And then last year, we added, our guests had been asking for a long time for a steel coaster, and we delivered in a big way. We brought the nation's first launched wing coaster, the Thunderbird, to the park. So basically what that is the seats, there's nothing above you, there's nothing below you. We shoot you out of the station 60 miles an hour in 3.5 seconds, and we take you upside down immediately. So you literally feel like you're flying on the wings of a bird, and it's just so smooth and so graceful and just so much fun. But yet it's not so much thrilling that you wouldn't want to take your 7-year-old son on. My son was finally tall enough this year to ride it. So we have 3 fantastic, thrilling roller coasters, but they're not so much that it's too intense for the family. So I think, it appeals to not only young kids, but it appeals to teenagers, it appeals to families. And we even had, last year on the Thunderbird, we had a 91-year-old man ride the Thunderbird.
Wow.
It was his first coaster he had ever ridden. He said, you know what, I want to ride one coaster at least in my life, and I figured this would be the one to do it on. So we have that. So now anytime somebody says, I'm too old to ride roller coaster, I'm like, nope.
Yeah,
I got you on that one.
There's so much to do and experience at Holiday World, Splashin Safari. It's impossible to cover in a short interview, but luckily for everyone out there, Holiday World has started its very own podcast. Now, how did that idea come about, and what can listeners expect by tuning into that?
Sure. Yeah, so you can tune into our podcast. You can go to holidayworld.com/podcast, and you can actually listen to all the past episodes. I think we're on number 10 now, and if you're a listener, you can actually go on and get a promo code to use to purchase tickets online to get a little extra savings. Your best place to buy tickets is online at holidayworld.com. But if you have a promo code from the podcast, it'll save you a little extra. But it started a couple of years ago, I guess, the concept where we were talking about the Thunderbird, and it was myself and two of the owners, Lauren Crosby and Lori Koch. And, we all have a very close relationship, and Paul was in the room, and we were just all very animated and talking, and Paul was like, oh my gosh, we have a podcast right here, and you guys don't even realize it. And we're like, yeah, okay, we have a Thunderbird, we got a coaster to get open. So then finally, last February, I think it was, she's like, guys, I was serious about this podcast thing, I'd like to, let's do it. And I'm like, okay, we'll give it a try and see how it's received. And so we did it, and it's been, quite honestly, more popular than, I'll be honest, more popular than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I think people would be that interested in listening to us talking. But, I think the reason that's been successful is we're very real. We're very who we are, and I guess it's kind of nice, maybe for listeners to kind of listen in and learn a little bit about the history of the park, learn a little bit about the behind the scenes, about what goes into running a theme park, because I think there's that misconception by a lot of people that, we come in at, May 1st and flip on a switch, and then in October we flip that switch off and we're done. That's not how it works. It's a 24-hour-a-day, 365-day-a-week operation. And I think that's fascinating for a lot of people to kind of hear about how it all goes together. So it's a lot of fun. We have a great time doing it, and hopefully our listeners and guests get a kick out of it too.
And does Holiday World have its own online presence? I mean, as far as social media, and I'm sure you have a website.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, holidayworld.com, and we have Facebook. Our public relations communications director, Paula Werney, I will say she's the best of the best. We were the first theme park to ever have a blog. So we have a blog on our website. We're very present in Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and so pretty much any kind of social media outlet that's out there, Paula has garnered the market on it. So you can find us pretty much anywhere. So yeah, if you go to holidayworld.com, you can find out all kinds of information about the park. You can find videos. You can find details about our menus and what we offer from a food standpoint. I mean, just pretty much there's a plethora of information that you can go out there and get if you just check out the website.
And one last question, Matt, before we sign off. What's your favorite ride at the park?
Oh, golly. Depends on the day, and it depends on what kind of a mood I'm in. If I love all of our coasters. Right now, I would have to say, just because of the newness, I really love the Thunderbird. Luckily, I'm not old enough yet where spinning rides bother me, so I still love the Turkey Whirl. In the water park, I would have to go with the Wildebeest. It's definitely my favorite water coaster. And then any of the rides that I can do with my family and my kids, I absolutely love that. So it's really hard to pick a favorite, but they're all very unique and different in their own way.
Well, Matt, thank you once again for taking a few minutes out of your day to join me on the show. It's been my pleasure, sir.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you too, Rob.
The 25th Hour Radio Show.